When we agreed to take Bonnie and Clyde, or they were offered to us, the idea behind it at the time was, oh good, they'll help us clean our fence rows. I didn't want to get rid of them.
Well, howdy folks, my name's Reagan. Welcome back to the GWP Homestead. It's a gorgeous day here, but it's going to be a little bit of a bittersweet day. If you've been watching our channel for a while now, you know we've had a heck of a time with some of our animals. We've got 2 beef steers right up there in the barn that have given us a headache, although I almost hate to say it, but they're settling down just a little bit. But Bonnie and Clyde, our 2 Savanna Kiko cross meat goats, they're just not fitting in very well. While the beef steers have been the biggest problem lately, we've also had this issue where Clyde, our Kiko Savanna meat goat cross weather, has been getting out of the fence. We don't own a fence on this property that can contain him, and a few weeks ago he got out, ate all my leaves off my fruit trees, which was very upsetting. I think it's time for him to make a trip. Now Clyde came here with his sister Bonnie, Bonnie being a Savanna Kiko cross meat goat, full-size goat, big goat, doesn't really fit in with our Nigerian dwarf herd, and since we are trying to, Nigerian dwarf dairy goats, that's what we're trying to do, she's not really fitting in either. Now they're both meat goats, and we've contemplated sending them to a processor. In my mind, it's just not really going to work, and that's more on me. Again, that's our purpose. Bonnie being a doe, she might have it a little bit better, but Clyde is weathered. Every day that he's breathing still is a blessing, and sometimes he just doesn't act like it. So since the butchering isn't going to work out for my own purposes, right, I don't want to do it, we have a guy who deals in goats, buys and sells goats. He's coming by, he's going to look at them too, and we're going to see what happens. But it's a bittersweet day. Those 2 were the first goats that we've brought home to the farm. And it's not that I hate to see them go, because they've been headaches the entire time that we've owned them. They were the first. And so that's what got us into this. And it's going to be weird not having them around. But that's life, right? We raise farm animals. This is not an animal sanctuary. And we appreciate everything that all these animals do for us. But they're livestock. And so with that comes sometimes making difficult decisions. And again, it's not the most difficult or the worst thing that could ever happen. That's the way it is. On a similar related note, that Premier One fence that Bonnie actually stays in, go figure, was an excellent investment. We're rotating these goats throughout our pastures. You can see where it's shorter, where it's taller. They're just making their way through this, and since we're still in the process, it's going to be a long, ongoing, drawn-out process of redoing all our fences. That's a great solution. That even whenever we get this thing done, for the goat herd that we plan on having, being able to rotate in smaller sections very deliberately, it's going to be a huge, huge benefit. I'm glad that we made that purchase. Now you see Clyde here. Clyde is in my chicken run. Goats don't need to be in a chicken run. It's not a good spot for them, but it's the only enclosure I have that will keep this goat in. And really, he got out of it once, but we patched it back up. Chicken wire, right? Goats are just difficult, and I think that's just the way it is. 2 beef steers. They're gaining, and that's exactly right. So Clyde was staying in this stall in here, thank you. But he figured out he could jump on that kidding stall into the feed room, and he went into our feed stall here and completely ransacked everything. It looked like a bomb went off. It was crazy. Now, one thing that's really going to work out in our favor, the goat market is high right now. So it's not like we're giving these goats away for pennies on the dollar. This is going to work out, well, at least we hope, pretty well. We don't have to deal with auction fees or anything like that. Bonnie and Clyde are loaded up on the trailer, and they have left the farm now for good. And I'm just a little bit sad. I'm sentimental, but I mean, it is what it is, right? They're farm animals, but yeah, I'm just a little bummed out about it.
This is the guy who wouldn't throw away a box of hundreds of the same sticker.
I mean, like, I did get them with my mom and dad, so, like...
I get it, but we had like 60 of them or more, And you'd already stuck a lot of them on stuff that we were keeping.
Yeah, I think she let me keep a handful of stickers. But, all right, that's not the point. Yeah, so I'm just I don't know. I'm a wee bit sentimental, and that's all right, I guess. But, yeah, those were the first 2 goats that we brought home to the farm. And even if they don't fit into our plan, they've really never fit into anything around here.
Clyde jumps everything we put him in. And that's kind of what made the final decision for us.
Yeah.
Is we couldn't keep him up. He was jumping good fence. He was jumping bad fence. He was jumping. So I'd put him in the stall that we keep the girls in. Y'all seen it. We filmed in it a bunch. And I have that kidding stall, and he would jump on the kidding stall, and then figured out from the kidding stall he could jump over a wall into my feed room, and then get into my feed buckets, which are trash cans with lids locked. You know, they're locked. Like,
Closed, yeah. I mean,
yeah, you have to kind of click them. They click. You get them from Lowe's.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, you've seen a trash can before.
yeah, and he would was that a bug?
No, it's a moth.
It's a really big moth. You know, he was opening those, and if he gets too much grain because he's a weather, he could get hurt. You know, and it's not good for him. It's not good for my sanity. Not good for our feed cost.
And then, of course, Bonnie likes to headbutt everything. And Bonnie, the thing about Bonnie is so weird. Is she is a fine goat. She's a good mom. She's given us a handful of good babies at this point.
She kids easy.
Yeah, like her kiddings are great, but she just doesn't get along with our dairy goats. And the purpose of what we're trying to do are the dairy goats. And so if I've got this big goat that's bullying my little goats, can't stay.
You know, they were brought here to help us clean up the fence rows. Well, they never got to help us clean up the fence rows because by the time we got fence that could keep them in, Clyde wouldn't stay in it. Bonnie would get out too still, not as much, but she still got out, and they weren't fulfilling their purpose here. They were here to clean fence row and be pets. And neither one of them was a great pet per se. You couldn't love on them. I love on my dairy goats and can pet them, and they'll, you know, come up and interact with me more than they would. You know, it sucks. Like, I didn't want to get rid of them. You know, my idea was when we agreed to take Bonnie and Clyde, or they were offered to us, the idea behind it at the time was, oh, good, they'll help us clean our fence rows. And then I got on the rabbit hole of wanting to do the dairy goats. I'm like, okay. And as I'm looking into goats and learning about them, I figure out they all have to have a friend, basically. They're herd animals. They have to have at least one other. I'm like, well, this will work out. I'll have a wether that I can keep with my dairy buck. And when I've got them all turned in together, he's a wether, so he can be in there too. And he wouldn't stay with Benji because he was so attached to Bonnie. I'm like, okay, that's not terrible. He can stay with Bonnie in the field because then it gives me 2 full-size goats, which gives my herd a little size. It doesn't help with predators, but it made me feel better. And then all the issues started. You couldn't feed grain around Bonnie because she would just headbutt everyone, even after she had her field.
I'm a goat. I'm pretending to be a goat. Okay. Yeah.
It looked like you were trying to headbutt a bug. Even after the grain was gone, she would just, if another goat walked by her and she thought that she was going to get the imaginary grain, she would just headbutt her.
Yep.
It was bad.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a shame, you know, and again, they are livestock. These are farm animals. This is not a sanctuary. These animals are here for a purpose. Those 2 are meat goats. So I don't know what's going to happen to Bonnie. Clyde being a wether, every day that he was breathing is a blessing. And I don't feel like he treated it as such sometimes. So yeah, he's going to auction, and well, I guess we're both going to auction, and from there, it's out of our hands.
Most meat goat breeds, boys, are weathered, and then they are sold at auction or go to a processor at 45 to 65 pounds. So that's less than a year old, and that's just when the meat's good to eat. Just like our cows, they're good to hang around till about 18 months old, because just a different breed, you know, it's a different type of animal, and they need to grow longer. We still have and are planning on keeping Juniper, which is Bonnie's first doe with Benji. I plan on breeding her and trying to milk her. She should do decent. My real idea behind it is basically I have a mini Nigerian mini Kiko kind of thing. So I'm gonna get hopefully a bigger supply because she has got some full-size goat in her.
Got a bigger udder. She's a larger goat.
Yeah, and she should be easier to milk in theory because she'll have bigger teats. we'll see. I don't know. That's the plan with her.
It's a mystery and it's an adventure. So we thank you for being here for it.
She probably won't get bred till next spring. I'm going to have to get a second buck. Whether I, do a drive-through breeding, which would mean I just load my goat up when she's in heat and drive to another buck, and yeah. I don't know. Or eventually we'll bring a second buck on, because I did keep now 2 of Benji's kids, which would be her and then Sunny. And I cannot breed them to Benji. So I'll eventually bring a second buck on. The original plan when we brought Benji on was for him to kick rocks.
And being that he's an intact Nigerian dwarf male, his future isn't at the auction block going to do wherever male goats end up going.
No, he would be sold to someone else breeding him.
He's still a breeding stock, but Benji is just the best. Like, he's just great. That goat, he's like a dog. He'll follow you around. He'll run up on you and want some head scratches. Like, he's just the best. And
he stays in just about anything we put him in within reason.
Yeah, he's just a good old boy. And we like him. So, Benji...
When he came onto the farm, my original plan was to breed him once, maybe twice, and then sell him and bring in a new buck that I could breed to all my girls. And then having his personality around, I'm like, nope, he's here. He's staying. The kid, he's a great for the kids. The kids can love on him and be in the pen with him, and he loves it. He's great. We've been throwing the 3 bucklings in there with him, and he's like, oh, hi. And
4.
4. Yep. The 4 bucklings. And he does great with them. He's basically their babysitter.
Until they break out and go elsewhere. But, again, we have fence work to do. We're going to get there. Bear with me. We're going to get there.
So right now we still have 4 bucklings and a doeling. 4 bucklings possibly for sale. We haven't exactly worked out.
Well, we're going to keep 2 of them.
2.
1 or 2.
1 or 2.
We'll get there. We took pictures of them, and we were going to post them, and then it was a nice day, so we just didn't. It's been crazy around here. Ugh.
And so I went to look at the said pictures we took, and apparently Reagan took them in burst shot, and they didn't open. And so I was only seeing 3 pictures, and they all looked terrified, screaming, hollering, absolutely terrified. I'm like, I cannot post these.
Yep. So we got to redo that, whatever. And with that, I reckon it's time to finish up the rest of our chores. We got a lot more to do because the work never stops. We like it. That's wouldn't have it any other way. But Bonnie and Clyde are gone. We got a few extra dollars in our pocket. You know what? I don't know. We'll buy feed. Feed's expensive. Gas is expensive. Everything's expensive. You know it just the same as we do. So
we buy medicine for Annie.
Yeah, we get something to get Annie straightened out. There's all kinds of options. I need all the money. And that's why we appreciate you subscribing to the channel, because our quest to be monetized is we're getting there. But we need your subscription. We need that. I'm asking for it. She would, but I try not to bug her with this because it's numbers and I get excited about it. I get loony, but we need you to subscribe.
Small Annie update. So the meds we treated her with originally was an antibiotic and what is it?
Lutalice.
Hey, I said
You got it.
I said it. I've been trying to say that word for weeks now and haven't been able to say it. I'm really proud of myself. Did not work. So when I took Brandy to the vet to get her sutures removed from her prolapse, we talked to the vet again, and he gave me my other option of what to treat her with, and it is not cheap because they don't stock it. I have to buy the whole bottle for myself, basically, and they're selling it for me at cost, but it's not cheap. So we gotta figure that out.
My name's Reagan. That's Megan. We'll see y'all soon.
Bye, guys.